off.
Hello and welcome to the Bar Stewards Enquiry podcast. My name's Lee Keys. I'm standing in for Catherine Fry at the moment, and my partner in crime tonight, as always, is John Leng of John Joe's Blogspot on Facebook. If you want to check that out, it's a great page, lots of fun and crack and good bets. And my website is systembet.co.uk if you do fancy taking a look there. Right, onwards and upwards. John, you've got some news about Catherine's whereabouts.
Yes, I believe she was last seen going out with Ed Chamberlain's, and I've been told they're going to share a kebab and discuss Catherine having her own show in the very near future.
I'm going to say it's getting quite worrying now. 2 weeks of absence. I mean, she said she'll be back on Sunday, but if she's getting cosy with Ed,
she still hasn't got her keys back from the party at Clace's.
Well, yeah. What from the chuck your keys in?
Yeah,
yeah. Well,
I have to confess, I'm worried about her.
Yeah. Well, she assures me she's back for the sermon on Sunday, so we'll see then.
Yeah.
So interesting there. Interesting information there, John. Right, we've got plenty to get on with in this episode. We've got a cracking terrestrial television card this weekend. 8 races on ITV4, and we've got a few interesting questions this week, and we'll get straight on with those. I was rather shocked by this first question. It's from a Chris Stockhill, and he says, could you review the weekend's racing on Sunday rather than talk bollocks like you did on last week's show? Cheers in advance. John?
Well, I've had dealings with this fella, and I find it very interesting that he wants a review of the racing on the Sunday, because, to be perfectly frank, he would learn something if just on Sunday we sat there and read out the racing results. So what he would glean from a review would be anybody's guess, really. But
Oh yeah, I know the fella. That's right. Chris Stockhill. Yeah. He's the sort of guy that goes to Marks and Spencer's, right, and tries on the underwear and then doesn't buy it and puts it back. He's that kind of fellow, isn't he? Yeah, terrible fella, really.
He'll win the shop at Marks's, but buy at Primark.
Yeah, that's it. Because we all know you're not allowed to try them on at Primark. You've literally got to take them straight to the counter, and that's it. So yeah. Well, anyway, that's him covered off. That's that question. Yeah. So hope Christopher, if you're listening, that's your answer to that question. Right. We'll move on. Next question is from Adam Webb. Does Haydock exist in its own microclimate? And if you were in charge of racing's terrestrial coverage, who would you have as part of it? Good question for you, this, John, I think.
Terrestrial coverage, Patrick Kinghorn, no question.
Oh yeah, that's the guy. Yeah, the ATR guy. Yeah.
I liked him. I'm not quite sure what happened to him, but I particularly liked one day at Cheltenham when somebody barged into him, and he looked over his shoulder full of hell, and when he finished doing his pace to camera, it looked like he was going to go after this fella, which I thought would have made fantastic television. And I think he could do the Matt Chapman role without actually being Matt Chapman, which would be a massive bonus in my opinion.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, he was the original Matt Chapman, but not as bad as.
Yeah, I really like Kinghorn, and I was disappointed when the sport lost him, to be honest. Other than that, I think ITV are doing a reasonable job bringing it to people that probably aren't all that interested in racing without necessarily going down the Clare Baldwin holy jihad to make people who hate racing like racing, which is where BBC coverage ended up. I mean, it was just a case of it was on TV on sufferance, and Clare was just catering for people that were reaching for the off switch all the time.
Yeah, that's where Willie had his box, right? Like Willie they had to give Willie a box to stand on to reach the screen, Anyway, yeah. I mean, my take on things would be I enjoyed the old Channel 4 era. Not all the presenters, but if I could bring one person back, if you could keep him sober, it would be Alistair Down, who I thought was outstanding at delivery, and he basically could read a situation and get the point across that fitted the moment so well. Very, very eloquent, and I think he's a big loss to.
He had some good contacts in like what you'd call the second tier of jump racing as well. There was the odd little sparkler amongst the tips from Down, I thought.
Absolutely, yeah. If you read between the lines, you thought you've had the word for this one,
Yeah. Rather like Julian Wilson with certain artists, because there's that bit of ego there. They want to tip a winner to the people as much as they want to collect.
I think that's true, actually. I think if you put yourself in that position of being, say, thrust in front of TV cameras, there's going to come a time when you really, really want to give and look good by giving a nice winner. That's not obvious, Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's good. Right, next question is from David Greenwood, and he says, did Nick Rust or anyone at the BHA take a 55% pay cut and have owners' fees reduced 55%, or is it just the prize money? And how long until owners end up deserting the sport in their droves? Well, I can start off on this and say it's absolutely bang on. The thing with this, the COVID-19 pandemic, is some people have done extremely well out of it. Some people haven't. And it obviously depends who and what you are, depends how well you've done. And sadly for owners in this sport, we get the massive brunt, and I'm looking for the exit door as soon as possible, where it's morally right to do so, as in, I can sort of either sell my horses or do whatever. I'll be looking for that exit door. So yeah, it's absolutely a pertinent point, and that may put racing in trouble, especially when bookmakers require these 9 race cards of 0 to 55s and 0 to 60s. Well, they need paying for, and I can't see it long term at this current rates now. John, your thoughts?
Well, all too long, racing has been underpinned by owners like yourself, very much like that. Don't make anything through owning horses, and they've just assumed that these people will go on forever. They've never had to produce a business plan. They've never had to produce a sport that actively makes money and gives everybody a fair deal. And now they're getting to the stage where, hopefully, because I don't think this is a bad thing, I genuinely think reality needs to bite in this sport, because you've still got breeders living like the Sultan of Brunei, overbreeding to top stallions is just getting out of hand completely, because it's money. It's like having your own version of the Royal Mint if you want Galileo.
Well, I remember you saying it a while back about yearling prices and how it surprised you.
Yeah. I mean, you own Galileo, and you're getting towards the end of the breeding season. He's looking like an inside-out hat stand, and you think, oh well, I'll give him 2 more jumps for it's £500,000.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's no rationality really hit the sport yet, because there's still a demand for Galileos at the sales, there's still a demand for Kingmans at the sales, and it's lulled them into a false sense of security, And can I just say as well, how refreshing it is to hear from Dave, who the last I heard was forced to desert this sport, and hopefully we'll see him back soon.
Yeah, I mean, for those that aren't aware, David was banned by the BHA for 8 years. What they actually had in evidence against him was questionable, to say the least. Certainly to ban him for 8 years when the likes of Charles Burns are getting 6 months. And I've had a word with David as well, and he's very keen to appear on one of our future podcasts. So basically that will be interesting to hear David on that side of the subject.
Another exclusive.
Absolutely. Yes, breaking again at Bar Stewards. And one final question before we move on to the ITV Fest this weekend. How would jockeys? This is from Lorne Marvo from he posts on the internet on the podcast Bar Stewards account, and this is a question online, and he says, how would jockeys of yesteryear compare with those riding today? I'm not talking about the obvious ones, i.e. Piggott, Cawthon, blah blah blah, but the likes of Greville Starkey, Joe Mercer, Tony Murray, Eddie Hyde, Paul Cook. John, perfect. I think you're the perfect man to give a good answer on that.
We'll give it a shot. The era that Lorne's talking about, great friend of the show, by the way. The era that Lorne's talking about, Paul Cook, Eddie Hyde, like that, Tony Murray. I think you probably had 4 standouts in that era with Piggott, Cawthon, Edry, and Swinburne. And those 4, with the exception of Pat, were ahead of the time insofar as they would tend to have their centre of gravity more forward on the horse, which is very much a trait now with the toes in the iron style pushing the jockey forward, whereas the other jockeys that Lorne lists that we're actually comparing with would have the centre of gravity a bit further back, which that does have me thinking that the other lads were ahead of the time. I mean, Pat was a genius, God knows how he did it, really, to be up there with them others, but these lads in the 70s and early 80s, they would probably lose points on style and compactness, because now we've got this factory churning them all out, haven't we, where Perham's got them on a mechanical horse and telling them to tuck their elbows in and, point the toes down and everything. It's all streamlined and lovely, and they pay a lot more attention to diet and keeping off the drink. Whereas, I mean, we don't know the trouble Tony Murray had with drink, God bless him. So, I mean, with fitness and style application, all such as that, I'd say today's jockeys win hands down. But they would lose an awful, awful lot in what I would call race savvy. There's far too many just sit there like puddings, looking stylish, but letting it all happen around them. The likes of Eddie Hyde, there's no way he'd go right round the home turn, hemmed in on the fence, about third one back. Somebody get belted halfway across the track when they straightened up. He'd be out and he'd know where he wanted to be till furlongs out. So I think it's interesting to draw comparisons. I would tend to prefer the older style, because I never, in my early days punting, I never seemed to have half as many worries about what the jockey might do. I don't know whether it's looking back with rose-tinted glasses or what, but, I never used to panic over being drawn 7 somewhere, Nowadays I'm worried sick half the time.
I think that's I think you're echoing what I think really that I mean you've got jockeys in this day and age, for example, like Shane Kelly, Jamie Spencer. The majority of the time they're so stereotypical. They give more or less everything the same ride, and I think the best jockeys over time are the ones that have actually thought it out and thought, I need to be here and I need to be doing this. And if they know that the favourite's one paced, then they'll sit on its shoulder. If they know they've got more foot, they'd work. That's what I mean. Piggott. If ever anybody watches Piggott, from say any younger listeners to our show, if ever you go back and watch footage of Piggott, you'll be quite shocked at how it's not like Willie Carson in a driving finish, or it's not strength and brute force. With Piggott, it was basically get a horse to just travel, like you said, the balance of the man, and also tactically, he was.
Weight forward as well, I mean, as I say, Carson had it and Wally had it, and it makes such a difference to go and travelling because you can settle them by dropping your hands then.
Yeah.
No, you're not getting the bit right up in the mouths, and then they can take off with you,
Yeah, good question, Lon. That concludes the questions, and now we've got 8 races to go through. Some races this weekend, not the biggest fields. It's kind of typical for the time of year as everything is wrapped up in cotton wool for Cheltenham. Anyway, the first one we're going to look at the weekend is the 1:15 at Ascot. That's the Warfield Hurdle. Roxana is a short price favourite. John, did you have any views on this?
Just that I didn't really want to take on Roxana. I don't particularly like backing mares full stop, to be honest. I usually give them a swerve unless it's the mares race at Cheltenham, they'll maybe stick Willie Mullins selected in a Yankee or something.
Yeah.
But I couldn't really make much of a case for anything beating this. Not at the prices, where I'd say, well, I'd have to be with this. I just think she should win. I'll probably be making a cup of tea while it's on.
Probably concur with that. Just something I think worth bearing in mind as well for punters in that race would be Jessie Harrington, who trains Magic of Light, the second favourite. She's just one winner from her last 41 runners. Very, very quiet yard. She had one bit of bad luck with the sizing Potsy that fell at the last, but that was looking tired and not necessarily certain to win. But in general, that would concern me. Just one winner from 41. It can turn, as we know, but if you're looking for maybe a short price favourite with everything in its favour, then Roxana with that good third at Ascot, behind the best 2 staying hurdlers in training, basically.
That's it. For staying hurdle farm, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very solid, and obviously with that little trainer form there with the second favourite, kind of might inch someone to maybe taking short odds. I don't know, but like you, John, it's not something for me at that price. Okay, we move on from that to the 1:30 at Haydock. That's the Rossington Main Hurdle, a Grade 2 contest. Favourite, I believe, for that is the Tom Simmons runner, Landing Arbour Lad. Any view on that race, John?
Well, at risk of boring everybody half to death, I thought Landing Arbour Lad was probably almost as good a thing as Roxana earlier on.
Okay.
I mean, looking at the race, really, I thought it probably only had maybe Ginger McCabe's horse to beat. And I mean, for me, he's starting to make his father look like a half-decent trainer, so, no.
Yeah, it looks like the years of being assistant trainer to Nicky Henderson might be finally paying off. Maybe he's found the cupboard. That special feed.
He's getting the previous checks right now, isn't he?
I think so.
That's a vital thing to do before you send the horse out to war. You've got to get that pre-race check.
Absolutely. So Landing Arbor lad definitely respected for me. I'm against you on this. It would be possibly my best bet on the TV races, but as I said, it wouldn't be a certainty. But Minella Drama that Landing Arbor lad beat when they met earlier on in the season at Bangor. Minella Drama that day, I noted that was carrying quite a fair bit of condition. And just to back it up, I checked Donald McCain's stats off breaks, and he's not so hot. So, despite, Donald McCain, being renowned as a fairly decent trainer, especially around Bangor, where he likes to front run. I don't think Minella Drama was that busy when Landing Arbor lad beat him by 5. And on £5 better terms, I thought Minella Drama, who's since obviously bolted up twice from trees, really, but I thought he would have a squeak of turning the form around. So that was my take on it there. That a fitness edge for Minella Drama. Quickly moving on then to the next race we've got. That's the 150 at Ascot. That's the Holloway's handicap hurdle. Over 2 miles, 3 furlongs. John, any views in this?
Yeah, I thought this was probably the most interesting race on the card, really. Warlord, I thought this got a stinker from our power last time. I thought it was giving far too much to do on really shit ground,
we love taking on a puppy power horse, don't we?
And well, we do and we don't in this case, because is this a jockey upgrade? He's been replaced with Decky. So, I mean, we could be tasting mud pies at the second or third last. So I'm afraid I had to give Warlord the swerve, despite thinking that we'd probably see an improved performance here. And the other one I was worried about, which I'll come from my selection, was Popeye's horse, Craig Amish. I think it's got excellent bumper profile and looks certain to win races in this year, but it'll be when the Seven Barrows magician wants him to do it, and I just have a feeling this might be a little pop round. So I'll come to the selection. Danny Kirwan.
The Nichols run.
Yeah, palpably failed to steer last time for me, but travelled like Alan Wicker on acid. I think the drop-in trip, he moved beautiful on background last time. I think these conditions are perfect for him. I think this has a hell of a chance tomorrow.
That's it. I mean, Danny Kirwan. Yeah, I mean, the drop back in trip I think could suit. Obviously, very well fancied in the market. Off a nice enough weight off 133, John.
I think so, because he travelled like a good horse, I thought last time.
Yeah. Okay, I've got a few takes here. Nothing amazingly strong. I just thought for the stat buffs, 7 of the last 10 winners of this have been rated 143 or above. Now, there's not many runners in this contest rated 143 or above. In fact, there's only been 31 runners ever in this race rated 143 or above, and 7 have won. So it's a fair old class edge, as if the class runners come to 4. But I mean, I'm not going to bed with that stat. It's just something that I thought was interesting. Botox has fits that criteria. And the one thing about Botox has, he will improve for stepping up in trip. Gary Moore's always been worried at 2 miles whether they go a strong enough pace. He's always said, if you watch his interviews in the past about this horse, he's always said, well, they'll have to go a good clip for this horse because, and this is the first time he gets 2 mile 3. And I think that's got to be a massive plus.
Gary Moore impression, by the way. We need Fry back.
Jellied eels, yeah. I mean, he's like I said, the yard are in blistering form. They've had had it right off in the last sort of 7-10 days. And I thought Botox has at 20 to 1 plus was big each way value in that. It's a good horse. There's no question.
To make
It is, and I mean, you can make a case for like Arrivederci that broke my heart at Haydock. You know, I've got big bets, and he's coming there 3 out like the wrath of God, and ended up on the deck. Arrivederci's that's been quite well found in the market, but it's a good race that. But like I said, so it's Danny Kirwan for John. I'm going to say Botox has at 20-1 plus. Shop around for big each way value. Sometimes they pay 5 or 6 if you look around, etc. Yeah, we move on. Next race of the day we are looking at is we'll move to Taunton for the Weatherby's Portman Cup. And you might diss Taunton tomorrow, but then if Haydock's a swimming pool tomorrow and gets called off, then you'll be thankful that Taunton's on. And Weatherby's Portman Cup, Jarle Enke won the race last year after finishing third in the Welsh National, which is an exact copy this year. So can he repeat the dose? Well, I was a bit worried when I looked at this race because I'm thinking 14 days after a big slog in the Welsh National, that doesn't seem ideal. And that's really probably the only worry. Now, I know he backed up last time, but the difference was the Welsh National was run on the 27th of December. Obviously, it's now delayed and it's now closer to this race. So the only question mark for Jarle Enke, because the opposition is absolutely turgid, and the 5 to 6 is a gift but then that's the if, you know, will he bounce from that? You know, he's 14 days enough from a third in a slog in the Welsh National. That's the question. John, did you have any particular thoughts?
I couldn't back Jarle Enke off that break.
I know you. Yeah, it is a concern.
You know, that was a balls out sort of effort, wasn't it? As well, you know. I mean,
yeah.
It's not like he got rid of her at the second and gone down with 3 stone on his back. He's had a proper race there, hasn't he? So
absolutely.
You know, I wouldn't be strong on anything against it, but I couldn't back it.
It's one of them. It's another. Sadly, I know it feels like we're fence sitting, but it feels like another leave. You know, it's like one of them that's sort of just outside the off stump. And
it is in the corridor of uncertainty.
You just
about cricket.
There'll be better balls to cover drive, let's say. Right, 240 Haydock is our next port of call, I believe, and that's the Peter Marsh. A fun favourite of mine down the years. I've loved watching this race. I just think it's got quite a bit of nostalgia to it, but maybe lost its glitz in recent times compared to what used to run in it. John, any thoughts on the Peter Marsh?
Yeah, Potter's legend, really. Course and distance winner, fair sort of mark. I was looking at these and I thought, well, I want something that'll get a reasonably positive ride, and I think Jack will probably sit handy at least.
Yeah.
I'm never a fan of these chesses when they're getting past 10-year-old and they've got cheek pieces and tongue ties and whatever. But I can just about suck it up with this lad wearing the cheek pieces, and because he caught through the ground. I think he run all right, you know.
Yeah, it's looking at what the ground's going to ride like there tomorrow. I mean, you'd literally need stamina in spades. And
it's going to be like a melted bobsleigh run, isn't it?
I think so. It's not going. I don't think it's going to be a very pretty viewing. And for that reason, I was in the camp of Sam Brown. Now, Sam Brown, for me, he's got probably one of the key form lines in this. Basically, comes into the race with the best form line. He was trying to give weight away to the likes of Imperial Aura and Windsor Avenue at Carlisle, and he went down with a real fight. Now, the thing with this horse, it's an absolute slot monster. The deeper, the better. You know, if it's knee deep, this horse goes through it wonderfully. And he's won over this course, on this sort of ground. And I do think Sam Brown, might well, I think it'd take a bit of beating, to be fair. As I said, what you want is ground's the most important thing, and he's got the best form line, as I say, with the trying to give weight to Imperial Aura, which does look fairly strong form to me. So I was on the side of Sam Brown in that one. Okay, we move on to the 3 o'clock at Ascot. That's the Bet365 handicap chase, a ridiculously competitive race. I felt the one thing with Ascot's chases, it does suit horses ridden prominently. People always mistake the Ascot chase courses like, oh, it's a testing track. It's the sharpest track there is. I mean, it's on the inside. It's literally, you need to be out and away and jumping nicely and in good rhythm. And I think that's the key here.
There's nowhere good to make your ground up there, is there?
No, because if you have to make your ground up, you have to go wide. And with it being so tight, that's obviously a disadvantage unless the ground is chewed up. And then obviously it's not so much of a disadvantage. But as a rule of thumb, getting in a good rhythm at Ascot is the most important thing. I've always been a fan of Windsor Avenue, Brian Ellison's horse. Didn't think it was well ridden at Wetherby. I thought the tactics was all wrong. Ridden too negatively, it didn't suit. Again, I revert back to the Imperial Aura form at Carlisle. That's good form. He's got his best 2 races have been right-handed, incidentally. And I would like Windsor Avenue to run well for Brian. I hope it can. But again, I question Brian and the owner's tactics. Are they going to drop this out again? And I can't step forward and go, I want to back this because I don't know what they're going to do.
I think you have a good idea what they're going to do.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it might be sit 6th and go 5 wide. So if I'd say if you wanted more fun for your money, you'd probably do better with the Dashel Drasher, one that Catherine tipped up the other week to win that 3-runner chase that we had at Ascot, beating Itchy Feet. I think Dashel Drasher loves jumping, gets on with it. The problem is with this, there's a lot of pace on. So maybe, again, it's a very tough race to read. Those are the 2 I kind of like to bet, but I'd have to wait for him running, I think. John, your thoughts on this?
Well, just going back to Windsor Avenue, I think this is a perfect example of a jockey getting off one and telling the trainer something, and the trainer reacting to that rather than the facts. I think, I'm guessing, but I think Quinlan's got off this at Wetherby and come in and said he didn't see it out. Whereas really what's happened, he's got a bit puffed getting to him, and 2 speedier types have quickened away after the last.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen persevere at 3 miles at the time being with that one.
I agree with that.
Like yourself, I'd love to see it win for Brian because I think you could do with a nice winner.
Yeah, I think he's due this year. Yeah.
But I just can't see it in this race. I think I thought I'd spotted one here with Domain. What's it called? Domain Delille. I think we've got a reasonable jockey upgrade here. This hasn't been jumping well, but as a result, it's on a reasonable mark in this, thanks to that. And I think it's had some of the quieter stands the last 5 rides. I mean, it's had Brian Yowes who sits very quiet on them. Sean Bowen, he lets them run down fences, and James Davis, I mean, you might as well put a ghost on. You go back to his last win, we had David Bass up, bullying it and making its mind up and kicking it into fences and all the rest of it. The blinkers are going on first time. I'm expecting them to be very, very positive.
Yeah.
So it's only 8-year-old, so it's not as sour as some of these will be. I think 14-1 is quite sporting in a fairly competitive race.
Certainly, a little bit of value there at 14. Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, I think that summing that race up basically, it literally will be whatever gets the run of the race. I mean, there's plenty of lining up on the front end. Whatever gets in that nice early rhythm is probably going to halve in price after about 3 fences. It's that kind of race.
It's a sort of race way that you'd recommend playing in running, really, wouldn't you? Like having a look at what happens.
It is really. You could look after 1 or 2 fences and think, yeah, that's where I'm going, kind of thing. Yeah. Okay, we move on. Again, tricky race there. 3:15 at Haydock. It's the new one hurdle, sponsored by Unibet. And Popeye sends one here, Bouvardere, after 4 years off. We've no idea if it's been in the field at Martinstown. We don't know. We don't know if it's had anything. We don't know. We're absolutely clueless on this. I mean, it's what is it? 8 to 13. You know, it's one of them. It could win 6 lengths on the steel. It could be in trouble by halfway, and everyone's saying that's him done. And again, as a betting medium, from my perspective, whatever you tip, it's possibly wrong. If you tip Ballyandy, that never seems to win. He's the Jimmy White of the hurdling world. And then, or if you tip Navajo Spring, that's got a lot to find at the weights. You know, I have absolutely no idea where to start on this. John, can you help me?
I'd probably go with Jimmy White, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just because he's fit and ready, you know. I mean, the former champion, well, if he wins, we know it's going to be, well, he's had a small splint problem. It wasn't a lot, you know. And if he gets beat, well, he had a heart transplant after his last race. For over a year. You know, so we are whistling in the dark, basically, with the horse, aren't we? So, yeah, I would probably just recommend people watch the market, and if it looks like the green and gold are hitting pink, well, just have a bit on Jimmy White.
It could just be at that moment, kettle goes on again, and a bit of pate on toast, something like that.
Every chance. Come here, Digby. 5 minutes.
Yeah. All right. So we've nothing there to help you with in the new one hurdle, and basically, I don't think anyone could fault us for sitting on the fence there. The final race of the TV Fest is in the 3:35 at Ascot. It's the Clarence House Chase. Looks a cracking renewal, to be fair. As I said, we've had probably better horses running this, but in terms of, it's reasonably competitive and probably worth a good watch. John, thoughts on the Clarence House?
I really like Waiting Patiently as a horse, because he really made my Boxing Day the other year when he tripped over that other horse and the Ginger Hitler had to ante up to yourself.
Yeah. It was a great day.
Has Ruth Jefferson actually managed to win a race with this since she took over the licence?
No.
Because, I mean, it's sad, really, isn't it? Because, I mean, it's like the best horses Jeffersons are going to have anything to do with. And it's gone ages without a win. And you're sort of getting into the underachiever category with it now, but I think it's got a nice chance in this. Politolog isn't really your typical champion chaser. I think it's champion chaser by default, really. A little bit of overreaction to its last win. Waiting Patiently, I'd probably say this out better as well. I think if this doesn't win tomorrow, I think we're going to start asking questions, really. Needs to fulfill its promise.
Well, I mean, everyone sort of acknowledges that it was the best horse in the King George by some way. There's no way Frodon would ever beat it again if they go a proper pace.
I hope he's not listening. Or any of the Fry fanboys.
Well, I have to come up with some defence for that. But yeah, I mean, the drop to 2 mile. It's interesting placing, don't you think? I mean, what's the thinking behind dropping so drastically in trip? I mean, there's 2 arguments here. They could go absolutely, balls deep ballistic and set it right up for it, or then again, something might, like Politologue might just get an easy on the front, and then you probably goofed. I mean, the other thing, Defi de Sir, that's my lay in the race, because I think he's gone. The last 2 races have just been, there's something just completely not right, and I'm dead set against him, especially around. Ascot's quite sharp as well, and if you do sort of miss one out, or you do, you sat towards the rear, I just don't. I'm not a fan of Defi de Sir, and I'd be a layer there, but that'd be my play.
What would you give for somebody like Tommy Carmody riding waiting patiently tomorrow?
Well, exactly.
He'd bump him off Andy at least. He might even lead. He'd kick him into every fence coming down the side of the track. It'd be overturning him.
Again, it's an intriguing race that I'm going to have to bottle out of giving a selection myself. But as I said, I will be laying Defi de Sir. That's providing the odds are right. That'll be my play in the Clarence House. Okay, John, what would be your best TV bet on the card?
I think probably Danny Kirwan.
Danny Kirwan. So Danny Kirwan for John in the 150 at Ascot. That's the Holloway's handicap hurdle. And my best bet, as I sort of hinted earlier, is in the 130 at Haydock, the Rossington Main Minella drama to reverse the form with Landing Arbor Lad. So that's our best 2 for the TV action. John, any other business this weekend that would be interesting for punters?
Well, it might be interesting for people who like to take the mick, because once again I find myself following Camp Haydock into the unknown in the 157 at Navan. He just has to be off at some point shortly, and if not, I'm probably going to lose about 300 quid in its next 3 runs. And I've resigned myself to that.
It's like the old martingale system. You just keep backing Campion up.
You got to keep plugging away now. I mean, he's got a good straight left. He keeps hitting me square on the jaw, but I can't seem to get me right up to block it. I'm going in again tomorrow. What can I say?
Well, I can't fault it because, like you said, there's every chance that at some point this season the handbrake might be released. So that's Campiador for John in the is it 157 at Navan, John?
157, yeah.
157, yeah. These funny times thrown.
I bet that's off to time as well.
Yeah, at 201. Right, yeah. Well, just to put everyone away this weekend, then we'll go for a green and gold double as usual, where they both probably end up 50 to 1 on the machine, and my bet is also green and gold. He has too many well handicapped. 105 Taunton. I thought was interesting. Milrow has. Now, this is not obviously well handicapped because it's shown absolutely nothing. But the thing that's most intriguing is the weight of cash there was for it last time at Utoxeter, off a mark of 97. Well, we all know that the weight of cash means quite a bit. And so obviously they expected this horse to be very competitive off 97. And whilst he did disappoint, I think it's encouraging that he's been given sort of like nearly 3 months off, a wind up, and Aidan Coleman straight in the saddle. No messing with the B team. It's get Aidan on this. And Neil Mulholland, it's interesting because he does very well with horses when he decides to tinker with the wind. Very, very good strike rate. Makes a profit, makes a blind profit. Anything that Neil Mulholland runs in a first time wind up makes good money. So that to me adds up to a big performance from Milrow has tomorrow at Taunton. But having said that, it's a disclaimer. It is the green and gold. We know what they're like.
If there's no performance tomorrow, it must be heading for that retirement field where there's the machine gun nest and the JCB waiting for him.
Well, that's it. So me and John, we've gone for 2 green and gold off the TV races, and that's about bringing the show to a close. Just a reminder that the Sunday Sermon, it's our new show, takes place on Sunday evening. Give it a listen. It literally is.
We're going to read 3 racing results out for Stockhill.
it literally is pretty much uncensored without lawyers wanting to get involved. And, it's a cracking listen. And that's every Sunday evening where we chew the fat over the week's racing event. So that's a Sunday sermon on Sunday. And I am the inside info. Mo has told me Catherine Fry will be back for Sunday. So just for Catherine Fry, it's worth a listen. Forget us. Right, that's all from me and John, and we'll speak again on Sunday.